Let's move on to the next category of questions. Most of all, our viewers do not understand the topic of reincarnation. What remains after the death of the human body? What part goes to reincarnation? Why did you say that a person turns into a soulless creature? Can you tell us more about this?
Everything is actually simpler than it seems. Such questions arise only because people for the most part do not even know who they are and who they are. For this, you can say thank you to the priests of your religions, who have put a lot of effort into making genuine knowledge lost, or distorted beyond recognition. It's easier to manage the herd and keep it in fear and obedience. Therefore, the question is, who is a person? This is a very serious issue. I would even say that it is a matter of life and death. Because if a person doesn't think much about it, then his life is reduced to an Arab existence, which leads to an absolutely predictable outcome at its end. Let's take an example, so it will be clearer. Consider the usual average option. There was a man, an ordinary, good person who lived an ordinary life, was relatively kind, loved his loved ones, moderately quarreled with others, moderately manipulated, as everyone does. But the main thing is that he didn't kill anyone, didn't rob. He was not noticed in particularly grave sins, and maybe even on holidays he visited the temple of his religion. And so, he died. What will happen to such a person after death? How do our people generally think? Again, I am referring here to the thinking of the average person. We do not take into account people who have read esotericism or have heard enough fairy tales from the priests of their religion and think that they know something. So, for some reason, people mostly believe that their relatives will definitely go to heaven after death. Well, because they have suffered and suffered so much during their lifetime, and it seems like they deserve to go to some good place at least after death, or at least finally rest and find peace. But that they definitely won't go to hell. Hell is only for the terrible sinners, for the officials who broke in, for example, or murderers. With regard to such crimes, at first glance, the lifestyle of average people looks almost martyrdom. Many people draw a picture from childhood that deceased relatives continue to observe our life from the sky, and from time to time they come in dreams to warn, suggest something, help or protect from misfortune. I am especially amused by the stories of people about the dead, who appear to them in their dreams in a dazzling white light and tell them how good and joyful they are there. If you only knew some kind of deception, you would be very much, to put it mildly, surprised. But let's take it in order. That is, what kind of logic do people have? As for me, suppose Grandpa Kolya was a relatively good person, then after death he will definitely get to a better world, where everything will be fine for him. And what's really going on? Once upon a time there was, for example, this grandfather Kolya, who did not strain himself much in life with self-control and went on about almost all of his impulses. In this scenario, was our Kolya a good person? And let's face it, what's going on in everyone's mind? Imagine for a moment if our every thought came to life. Could we call ourselves good people after that? And how many times did our grandfather Kolya beat or even kill his tyrannical leader in his thoughts? How many times has he imagined cheating on his wife? How many times in traffic jams at the wheel did he curse the drivers who cut him off? And did grandfather Kolya dream of being the ruler of even his own little number? What did this average person want and strive for in his fantasies? Didn't he hate, envy, and dream of someone else's wealth? What did our seemingly very decent man actually live by, and what scenarios did he scroll through in his head?